Hello, guys, and welcome back. Thank you for being here. So, today we're going to talk about the Fox River in Illinois. And I'm calling this show the Fox River Files because I believe there'll be more to come. We just had another body as recent as yesterday. So, again, let's get to it. These are all the victims. Again, the river goes through many, many, many communities, as I will mention. There are places we pass every single day without giving them a second thought. Places that quietly become a part of our lives, places that feel familiar, comfortable, and safe. For me, and for thousands of people who call Northern Illinois home, that place is the Fox River. The Fox River winds through Wisconsin and Illinois, following through communities like McHenry, Algonquin, Carpentersville, Elgin, South Elgin, St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia, Yorkville, and beyond. And again, I'm going to show you the pictures so you can see exactly how it goes. Then I'm going to share with you some of the latest headlines. This is where the kids learn to fish, where families gather on warm summer evenings, where people lounge their kayaks before sunrise, where photographers capture breathtaking sunsets, where couples walk hand in hand along the river path. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's home. But over the past year, I've started noticing something, me and everybody else. Not while standing on the riverbank. Personally, I'm a beach girl myself. I'm not a fan of rivers. Not while walking these trails, but while watching the local news. Every few weeks, another search, another emergency response, another missing person, another recovery, another family receiving the phone call no one ever wants to receive. At first, I dismissed it. Maybe I was simply paying more attention than I had before. Then another story appeared, and another and another. Eventually, I stopped asking what happened in these cases. Instead, I found myself asking completely different questions. How many stories like this are there? That question wouldn't leave me alone, so I started digging. And I had a lot of help. Not because I believed there were a hidden conspiracy, not because I thought every tragedy was connected, and certainly not because I wanted to exploit heartbreaking losses. I started digging because every headline represented a human being, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's husband, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's father, someone whose family would never be the same. As I researched, I quickly realized something important. Every case was different. Some were ruled accidental, some involved people who had been reported missing, some investigations remain open, and some were cold cases that took decades to solve. Every one of them deserved to be understood on its own facts. That's what this investigation is about. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm not here to invent connections that don't exist. I am here to ask honest questions, follow the documents, the facts, and remember people behind the headlines. Over several weeks, I searched newspaper archives, police reports, television, news coverage, coroner's release, and public records. I started building a timeline, not just of the stories everyone remembers, but of every case I could verify. Some story had answers, some still don't. Maybe by the end of this investigation, we can conclude that these tragedies simply reflect the realities of a river that flows through dozens of communities. Or maybe we'll uncover patterns that deserve more attention and a second look. Either way, the facts matter. Because before we talk about the timeline, before we examine maps, before we discuss investigations, we need to remember something. Every name you're about to hear belongs to a real person. This isn't about statistics. This isn't about entertainment. This is about remembering lives. Welcome to the Fox River Files. And there you see it again. Many victims. Why I started digging. You know, it's funny how certain stories stay with you. Most of us watch the evening news. We hear about something tragic. We shake our heads. Maybe we say a prayer for the family, and then life moves on. Tomorrow brings another headline, another tragedy, another story. But every once in a while, a story refuses to let go. For me, that story became the Fox River. I honestly cannot tell you the exact moment it started. It wasn't one victim, it wasn't one investigation, it wasn't one dramatic event, it was the repetition. Every few months, sometimes few weeks, another search, another police boat, another helicopter circling overhead, another recovery, another grieving family standing beside the river. Eventually, I caught myself asking, am I imagining this? Or has this really happened this many times? What began as a simple internet search turned into something much bigger. One article became five, five became 20, 20 became dozens, and hours turned into days. Days became weeks. I do want to say thank you for everybody locally who sent me information on this. Every time I thought I had reached the end, another name appeared, another family, another tragedy. We just had one. I'm going to add to this because I got it yesterday. Then something changed. I realized I wasn't collecting headlines anymore. I was collecting people. Each article represented someone's entire world, someone who laughed, someone who had dreams, someone whose chair is now empty at the dinner table. That realization changed everything. Before we go any further, I want to make something very clear. This investigation is not about creating fear. It's not about suggesting these cases are connected. In fact, after everything I have researched, that may not be true after all. Rivers are dangerous places. Accidents happen. Medical emergencies happen. Weather changes, current change. People make decisions that have tragic consequences. Some of these cases you'll hear tonight or today were ruled accidental. Others remained under investigation. Some still don't have the answers. Each one deserves to stand on its own facts. That's exactly how we're going to approach this. One person at a time, one family at a time, one story at a time. Because when we reduce people to numbers, we stop seeing them as human beings. And I don't want that to happen here. As I built my timeline, I noticed something else. Most people remember only the tragedy that happened in their own town. But the Fox River doesn't stop at city limits. It flows through communities after communities. What happened in Elgin may never make headlines in Yorkville. A recovery in St. Charles may be forgotten before another case unfolds in McHenry County. Very few people ever step back and look at the river as one continuously story. That's what I wanted to do. Not to prove a theory, not to create one, but to understand what happened, when, where, and what can we learn. Those questions became the foundation of what I call now the Fox River Files. Before we begin, I want to explain how I approached this investigation. I didn't start in 2015 and worked my way forward. I started with the cases that were fresh in our minds, the ones many of us remember seeing on the evening news. Then I worked backwards. One story became two, two became five, five became a dozen. That's when I realized I wasn't looking at isolated headlines anymore. I was looking at a timeline of lives forever changed. Let's begin with the most recent case, July 23rd, 2026, Elgin. Just this past Thursday, emergency crew recovered the body of a man from the Fox River near the 200 block of South Grove Avenue in downtown Elgin. Police were called to the scene just before 3 a.m. after receiving reports of a body in the water. A day later, the Kane County coroners identified him as Victor Marin, 41, of Elgin. Authorities said that he was the same man involved in a June 2026 police accident where officers reported that he entered the Fox River while fleeing after an encounter near the railroad tracks. Search teams spent days trying to locate him, but he was not found at the time. The preliminary cause of death was drowning. Toxicology testing was ordered and the investigation remains open, pending final reports. As heartbreaking as this story is, it's also closed one chapter in a case many people in Elgin had been following for nearly a month. July 1st, 2026, St. Charles. Just a few weeks earlier, another tragedy unfolded along the Fox River. On the morning of July 1st, a boater discovered the body of Amanda Flick. Amanda Flick, 41, near Redgate Road in St. Charles. Amanda was a wife and the mother of 3 children, according to authorities. There were no immediate signs of foul play. The Kane County Coroner's Office later reported that the preliminary cause of death was, again, drowning, while the investigation continued to determine the circumstances surrounding her death. For her family, July 1st wasn't just another news headline. It was the day their lives changed forever. Only days before Amanda Flick recovered, another headline story captured the attention of the Elgin community. Destiny Neal, just 16 years old. Take a good look at her. Had been reported missing. An extensive search followed on June 21st of 2026. Her body was recovered from the Fox River. The loss of someone so young shook me and shook the community and prompted an outpouring of support for her family and friends. Authorities investigated the circumstances surrounding her death, while many questions were asked by the public. Officials continued to follow the evidence as they worked to determine exactly what happened. 16 years old, a daughter, a friend, a young life that ended far too soon. February 17th, South Elgin. As I continue working backwards through the timeline, another name appeared. Ulises Miguel Segura, Dorantes, 53. Miguel had been reported missing months earlier on the February 17th, 2026. Search crews recovered his body from the Fox River near South Elgin. The Kane County Coroner's Office determined the preliminary cause of death was, once again, drowning. For his loved one, that recovery finally answered some painful question: where was he? But it also marked the beginning of another kind of grief, learning to live without him. July 31st, 2025, St. Charles again. The next case took me back nearly a year. Taylor Russell, 25, disappeared while kayaking on the Fox River near St. Charles. A massive search followed, involving first responders, dive team, and volunteers. After an extensive search, Taylor's body was recovered from the river. Authorities ultimately ruled the death an accidental, once again, drowning. These stories serves as another reminder of how quickly an ordinary day on the river can turn into tragedy. Or is there something else? March 2025, Elgin. One case stood apart from the others, not because of how it ended, but because of how long it took. In 1983, Karen Schepers disappeared without a trace. For more than 4 decades, her family lived with unanswered questions. Then in March of 2025, investigators located her vehicle, submerged into the Fox River, inside where Karen's remained. After more than 40 years, one of the Fox River's oldest mystery finally had an answer. It could erase decades of heartbreak, but it finally gave her family something they had been waiting for since 1982. At this point in my research, I stopped looking at these stories as individual tragedies. I started seeing something larger, a timeline that stretched back years, then decades. I found myself asking a simple question: how far back does this go? Every time I thought I had reached the beginning, another article appeared. Another missing person, another recovery, another family left searching for answers. What surprised me wasn't these tragedies happen. Every river has accidents. Every community experiences loss. What surprised me was how quickly these stories disappear. A headline makes the evening news, friends and neighbors talk about it for a few days. Flowers are placed along the riverbank, then life moves on. But the families don't move on. For them, time stops. A birthday arrives with an empty chair at the table. Christmas looks different. Graduations, wedding. The new cycle ends. The grief doesn't. That's why I wanted to build this timeline, not to reopen old wounds. No, not to create fear, but because every one of these stories deserves to be remembered and because history matters. Sometimes history teaches us about safety. Sometimes it teaches us about human behavior. Sometimes it reminds us how much fragile life can be. As I continue searching old newspapers archives, I found cases that many people had completely forgotten. Some were ruled accidental. Some involved missing persons who were finally found. Others raised questions that investigators worked for years to answer. Karen's story reminds us that time doesn't erase loss, it only changes how we carry it. The Fox River has witnessed tragedies for generations. Some people slip beneath the surface during recreation, others disappear without explanation. Every story is different, every family is different, but they all have one thing in common: someone still remembers them, someone still says their name. And that's why I believe these stories deserve to be told. While researching the Fox River, I also noticed reports of people found in other bodies of water across Illinois: rivers, quarries, and forest preserves. At this point, I'm not suggesting those cases are connected to the Fox River. Every investigation is unique and deserves to be evaluated with its own facts. However, the volume of similar reports raises questions worth exploring carefully. Are these simply unrelated tragedies occurring over the time? Or is there something that deserves a closer look? Let me share this one. This guy was found in Naperville. This one, we just found him. His car was found a couple days prior, and then they found him. Some people say that we have a serial killer on our hands, and it's mostly males. That would be a speculation, is what I'm saying. And I'm not ready to say that. But it is interesting. The incidents mark the latest in a string of deaths reported. Just in 2026, NBC Chicago journalists have spoken to police about more than a dozen death investigations from Elk Grove Village to Aurora to Elgin to Schaumburg, even downtown Chicago. Police have not confirmed any connections between the incidents so far. Those are questions I intend to stay on top of and research for further, always relying on documented evidence, verified public records, and credible reporting if connections exist. They will be supported by facts, not speculations. And if the evidence shows these are unrelated cases, I'll report that honestly. This investigation is about following the evidence wherever it leads and giving every victim the respect they deserve by telling their stories accurately, not as a headline, not as statistics, but as people. Because once we stop remembering their names, that's when they truly disappear. And that's when another question enters my mind. Not why these individual tragedies happen, but whether there were patterns hiding in plain sight. Were certain locations more dangerous than others? Were a particular time of the year when incidents became more common? Were these simply random tragedies, or was there something the river itself could teach us? That's where my investigation went next. July 23rd, 2026. Victor Marin, 200 block of South Grove Avenue in Elgin. July 1st, Amanda Flick. June 21st, Destiny Neal. February 17th, Ulises Miguel. July 31st, Taylor Russell. March 25th, Karen. When I started this project, I thought I was researching a river. What I discovered was I collected the stories, a collection of stories. Sometimes some stories are of families whose lives change forever are heartbreaking. Stories of people who should never be remembered as just another headline. Although this investigation, we've looked at documented cases spanning decades, some ended with answers, some ended with more questions. Some families found closure, others are still searching for it. One thing became clear to me: the Fox River isn't dangerous because its mysteries. It's powerful because it demands respect. Whether someone is fishing, kayaking, walking along the shoreline, or simply enjoying a summer afternoon, the river deserves our attention. If this documentary encourages even one person to wear a life jacket, to think twice before entering a dangerous water, or to look out for someone who may be in a crisis, then this project has served purpose beyond telling these stories. But perhaps most important lesson I learned wasn't about the river at all. It was about memory. Because every name we're spoken tonight belongs or today belongs to somebody, someone who was loved. Someone whose family still remembers their laugh, their smile, their voice. And as long as we continue to remember their names, they will never truly be forgotten. I also want to thank the first responders, dive team, police, officers, firefighters, search and rescue volunteers, and investigators who answer these difficult calls. While most of us only see the headlines, they witness the heartbreak firsthand and work tirelessly to bring answers to the family. This is only the beginning for the Fox River file. As a new information becomes available and additional cases are verified, this timeline will continue to grow. If you know of a documented Fox River case that deserves to be researched, or if you have information from public records or archives news reports, I invite you to share it. Every submission will be verified before it's added to the project. This investigation isn't about chasing theories, it's about preserving history. It's about following the facts. I know some people look at these cases and wonder if something more sinister is happening. If that is true, then truth has a way of coming out. I just hope the authorities are doing their jobs truly and treating every one of these cases with the seriousness it deserves. This project was never about chasing theories. It's about documenting what has already happened, following the public records, and making sure the names are not forgotten. And above all, it's about remembering the people. It's about following the facts, one case at a time, one family at a time, and letting the documented evidence speak for itself. And this has been the Fox River Files. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like to follow future investigations and future videos. And if this story means something to you, consider sharing so these lives and these stories are not forgotten. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and never stop asking questions.